Bob writes about it. Jim talks about it. But Chuck did something about it.
Foreman on a big hole across the 10. He's something else. He's out in touchdown land. He's something else, baby.
Now, here's longtime columnist Bob Sansevere, Fox 9's Jim Rich, and the great number 44,
Double 4.
Chuck Foreman.
Welcome to the JimBob Sports Jamboree with Vikings legend Chuck Foreman, Fox 9's Jim Rich. I'm Bob Sansevere. As always, our very special guest, Tyler Ganz from the Window Store, which, by the way, is bringing you the JimBob Sports Jamboree, the Window Store, the place to go for windows, and so much more. Now, we're going to talk more to Tyler about that in a bit, but first, we got to go to Chuck Foreman. This weekend, a fella by the name of Kirk Cousins coming to town. One of the least accomplished quarterbacks in the league the last few weeks. No touchdown passes. Leads the league in interceptions. Had 4 interceptions in his last game. I mean, the Vikings defense, they get after him. His line is not good. They could do a number on him.
That's the problem. You know, Kurt, we know he can dial it in when he has the time. He has no time down there right now. And I don't know, his weapons don't seem to be getting open either.
Right.
So with all that going on, I mean, he's getting a bad rep, and they signed him for what, $180 million. Then I heard somebody say, "Well, they're going to bench him." They ain't benching him.
No, they're not benching him.
Never know. They owe him $100 million,
Right.
guaranteed.
They want to see something,
and so it's not that.
And they're still in the thick of that.
And
the worst division
they 6
in
and
football.
6, and so they could turn it around. But it's not just him. I mean, certainly. I think he challenges his receivers. Like, he don't have the receivers there as he had here. He could challenge these guys, and they go get it and come down with it 90% of the time.
Exactly.
Down there, he does the same thing, not the same result because they aren't as good. And so I think that's part of the problem, too, because he's, like, challenging them, and they're not meeting that challenge.
Well, he chased that money, right?
Yeah,
He went and chased that money. Think how mad he is right now. Look at that Minnesota right now.
I'm chasing that money, too. I mean, at
Right.
that point,
But he had $46
point,
million here. Isn't that enough?
hey, look, that's 46. He's talking about 180. Now, Tyler, you're a businessman, right? And I just heard you the other day talking about your windows and how great they are. And don't go to this other place because the windows might not be that good.
They're not as good.
All right, but you can go to this other place and they charge you more money for windows that aren't just as good as yours. But he went to the team that wasn't as good as his team, but he got the money.
You know, back when Chuck played, he was chasing the 46 too, but it was 46,000.
Yeah,
$46.
Hey, my first contract was the 12th player picked in the entire draft, right? I got a $50,000 bonus. I got $26,000 my first year, $28,000 my second, $32,000 was supposed to be my third. I thought I was rich, but then back in those days, you could buy a house in Miami. Like a 3-bedroom or something like that.
Right.
I mean, you could buy a house for $15,000, and if you wanted to rent a real good house, you could spend $35,000 to $40,000. I happened to buy a house when I was getting ready to get in that third year. I bought a house down there for, I think I paid $72,000 for it.
The mansion.
That was like, I had a swimming pool, I had bar out on the thing, I had it all. And in hindsight, I should have kept all that, but I didn't. But I moved up here.
Well, Chuck, just imagine how much money you could have made and how pretty you'd be sitting if you took that job with the post office.
If I took it to the post, and then my retirement would have been
huge.
would have been crazy.
All right. You got to tell the story about when you were negotiating with Mike Lynn, the GM at the time. That's what brought up. Explain what happened.
Well, anyway, Mike Lynn and I had this guy named Tom Rich was my agent, and they were negotiating things like that, and Mike Lynn, they were negotiating back and forth and all that stuff, and then Mike Lynn says, "Listen, you can either take this money or go work at the post office." Tom Rich jumped up on that table and then jumped over on Mike Lynn, started choking him. I'm like, don't kill him. I'm pulling him off. But he was that insulting. First of all, he was insulting the post office workers, first of all, and then he thought that was all I could do. He insulted me as
and you saved his life,
right? And I'm like, I should let him choke him out. But that was the kind of, the guy's gone now. But I'm just like that's the kind of negotiation they used to do. They'll do. Hey, I'm tired of talking. Hey, you can take this money here. You can go to the post office.
See, I always got along with Mike Lynn, but I never had to negotiate with him.
Yeah, you didn't never have to do that. But you ask anybody that had to negotiate with him, they would have the similar story.
But he went from being like the manager of a Winn-Dixie in the South to suddenly becoming the GM of a football team.
And then ended up taking it over.
Yeah, he did.
From Max Winter.
Yeah, he did some incredible things.
Yeah, he did some. Yeah, well,
all right, we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
All right. There's no Jim Finks who drafted you.
No, Jim
right?
Finks drafted me, and just the best guy you could ever have. He knew football. He knew everything. But when he left, because he's the guy that when they got rid of Alan Page, when I was like the craziest thing and then as soon as they put Alan Page was on waivers, where they told me,
which is amazing,
for 15 seconds. And then Jim Finks grabbed me down there in Chicago, right?
Right.
And then he went on to make All-Pro 3 more years at the weight that he was playing at.
Didn't he play at 200 pounds or less?
No. He was 270 or 280, something like that when he was here. When he
did marathons, I thought he got down.
Then he was doing the marathon thing, and so in order to do that, I think he got down to 230.
But still,
but 230. That's what. But they wanted him to put that weight back on. He didn't want to because he was the quickest doggone dude out there and strong and all this. So and then I just remembered when they drafted James Duck White, supposedly to take his place.
Yeah, that didn't work out.
That didn't quite work out. And then Allen goes to Chicago and just annihilates people.
Well, Jerry Burns always said the guys that had the two strongest grips on the team that he ever knew, Alan Page and Joey Browner. That they both had incredible grips. And Gerald Wilhite would tell you the grip that Joey Browner had because it ended his career.
Yeah, sure did.
When he yanked him down from behind.
Yeah,
sure
he
did.
shook him like a rug, like you were shaking the rug out. He just picked him up by the back of the scruff of the neck.
That's when they put that rule in for
the horse collar
rule.
Yep.
That's
was
when
the
they
end of that.
changed all that. Was the end of that, yeah.
Hey,
but yeah.
By the way, we also need to mention that we are joined. We were trying to wait for the big build-up. The superstar Mike Morris is with you. He is brought to you by Dodge of Burnsville and Ace Hardware Stores. Am I right?
You couldn't be more right. I wish I had my microphone on. Can you dial my microphone up? I'm late.
We hear you.
We hear you,
so just talk.
Okay, I'll keep going
Just
then.
talk like you always do. There you go.
I'll be mad about it then. I want to have like you guys have. I want to be treated the same. Okay?
But you're so much better, though.
Yeah, good point.
Probably
I'm
took
sponsored
him-
by Ace and Dodge. You said it right. And if I need to say anything more about it, if we have time, I'd like to expound upon that.
All right.
Then expound. Go ahead.
You know what? You just let us go ahead.
Take it away. Take it away. You tell me.
It's the place with the helpful
You do
hardware.
it. Yeah.
Folk.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Right.
Hard to say. Dodge is in Burnsville.
D.O.B.
DOB, Dodge of Burnsville. Roll on down there, roll out with a new car, new truck. Either way. Trade yours in, run past all the trash compactor dealerships on your way, and just head straight in the door. 5 stars, red carpet. Say hi to the boys
And you know
for
what?
me.
I could expound on that because I guarantee you go buy those dumpster fires and they got lousy windows too. The window store, I'm sure Dodge of Burnsville will be having those windows in there.
Best windows are they have the best windows. Dodge of Burnsville.
It goes without saying. All right.
How about my house? I might need new windows.
We got the guy to talk to.
Yeah, I think so.
Tyler, where should Chuck think about checking out?
I mean, if you want to get the best service the fastest, you're at WindowsStoreInc.com.
Okay.
We're still running some really good specials. We're excited to extend that 50% off through the end of the year on Windows. So if you need to get a couple things done before Christmas, get those orders in. Maybe the missus has been nagging on you, want you to get these windows done. You know, you put that into a contract, you give it to her for Christmas. She's gonna be real happy.
I know one thing. I know when that wind was blowing this morning, I'm like, man, I feel wind coming through my windows.
Well, I'll take
And then
care
I
of it.
thought about the window store.
That's right.
You know,
you know
so
what?
like, I couldn't wait to get here to talk to Tyler.
There you go.
So there you go.
There you go.
All right, we've covered that one. And now, Jim, you may want to mention something too while we're at it about our friends in Maple Grove.
Yes, we could. We could really talk about them, but we'll save them for the next.
Okey
We're
dokey.
talking about of course, experience Maple Grove, because that is the place you want to head for the holidays. They have got great specials going on at all their restaurants. You know, it is the restaurant capital of the world. So
Oh, yeah.
they've got that squared away. And now it's your holiday place. They got the skating rink. They've got skiing. They've got tubing. They're making snow. So you can find snow there in Maple Grove. Hotels as well. You spend a night, you get a discount to a restaurant. Lots of things. Go to experiencemaplegrove.com and you can read all about it right there.
And then what you do is you get into your old jalopy, you get some food for takeout, you eat it on the way down to Dodger Burnsville.
That's right. I told you guys that already. Do you have a jalopy?
Several.
You have several jalopies. Hell, I mean, you take several jalopies down there and get one nice car.
I just tow them. I hook them together and tow them down there.
They'll take them
Throw
that
them in
way. I
neutral.
mean, hey,
You can get down there.
Jim stops by the farm for baling twine to tie his bumper back on.
that qualifies as a jalopy for sure. That's a junker.
Okay, between Bob and I can say I've been there, right? I've been when I go down to Buffalo, to see. I can say one thing: they not spending money on cars. That's right. They got nice homes and all that room and all those horses. They spending money on horses and stuff like that, but cars aren't their
not
number
a priority.
one. Yeah,
All right.
not a priority.
Here's a priority. We're going to take a quick break, and the JimBob Sports Jamboree will be right back with the legend, Chuck Foreman, the superstar, Mike Morris, the TV legend, Jim Rich, and the window store owner and legend, Tyler Ganz. Be right back. We are back with more of the JimBob Sports Jamboree with Vikings legend Chuck Foreman, the Fox 9's Jim Rich, superstar Mike Morris.
I'm a legend.
You're a legend. You are a legend. There's no question. Best long snapper in NFL history. That's legendary.
Yeah. And I'll agree with all that.
Well, there's no arguing it.
I mean, and they told me I was going to go into the Ring of Honor down at the stadium.
When?
They didn't mean it.
What happened?
They just told me what I wanted to hear. But they were going to put my name up in gold plated letters and everything.
Well, wait a minute. Mine's not up in gold plated. But don't feel bad. But wait a minute. Don't feel bad, Mike. Did you know how long it took them to put me in there?
I don't know. I don't remember when you were.
Yeah.
Well,
How long?
I was gonna
Too long.
I was gonna wait a segment. I'll pull Tyler Ganz from the Window Store. This show brought to you by the Window Store. Chuck, you got screwed by the Hall of Fame yet again. You made it to the final 31, but they went to their final 3. Maxie Bond, former linebacker for the Eagles and the Rams. Jim Tyre spent most of his career, if not all of it. Well, 1 year I think he did with Kansas City Chiefs as an offensive tackle. And the other one was Sterling Sharp, wide receiver. Only spent 7 years in the NFL. He had some good 7 years, but that's the one that, I mean, I'd put you in ahead of all of them, but I'm biased.
The only thing I'm going to say is this, okay? First of all, the first 2 I thought were already in. And when I looked at their accomplishments in the game of football during their time in their era, they should have been there.
You're right.
40 years ago. Okay, then when I look at myself, and our first run at it after all these years, I've never been pushed by anybody except for Skull Marketing, the fans, you guys, and look where we ended up. 30. We made it to the 30, final 30, after all these years. And so when you look at all the guys that played this game and all the guys that are sitting there that are Hall of Fame quality players, every one of them.
Yeah.
And I'm in the final 30. And this is the first time we've ever even ventured out to get recognition for that. I mean, that was a heck of an accomplishment in itself. And so what I think Ben and Jack McTeague and Brady and all these guys here at Skull Marketing, I think we'll just sit back, regroup, and see what we need to do to come back and do it again.
There's a question that was asked,
right.
And it is a good question.
Right.
Who spoke for these guys to get them to the final 3? You got to find out who can speak for you.
Right, exactly. So that's what, when I read the newspaper yesterday, there was this guy that spoke for Jim Tyre that is a member of the senior committee. Now, I didn't know that was even...
Somebody has to push you.
But I didn't know they could do that.
Yeah.
I thought they just came into a meeting and they evaluated everybody's contributions and then made a decision, voted on. But that's not how it goes.
But on that senior committee, you're right. You need
on
somebody
the senior committee, somebody obviously has to speak for you. And my whole question was, okay, if he had that guy speaking for him,
Who spoke for you?
who was speaking for me and the other people?
Nobody from Minnesota, because there's nobody from Minnesota on the senior committee.
Nobody on the senior committee, but even that guy, I don't know where he's from, but he spoke for Jim Tyre. But does that mean everybody has somebody speaking for them when they have that meeting?
Well, and if they don't, you better get somebody.
And if you don't, if that's the case, then you got to know how the process goes so that you can prepare for it.
All right, there absolutely is a political element to it. Now, there's also on there's a like a contributor or coach.
Right.
And now I don't have a problem with Holmgren, but Mike Shanahan, the fact that this guy is not in the Hall of Fame or he didn't make the cut is amazing. What do you win? 2 Super Bowls or more, and he took teams. He was a great coach.
Here's the thing that I have with the thing. First of all, why is it that they pick so few people every year when you got all these great players that are Hall of Fame caliber people, whether it's coaches or whatever?
Right.
And then you have 3 different categories, I think.
The coach,
and then the coach, the contributor, and then something
players.
else.
Three up to 3 players.
From the senior
Now,
committee.
there's no guarantee that Sterling Sharp, Maxie Bond, and Jim Tyre get in.
Because it might be those contributors that get in. But my whole thing is like, okay, you got all these guys, and I saw the list myself first time I looked at it ever. And I'm like, man, I thought this guy was already in there. I thought this guy was already in there. And I'm like, they're not. And so to me, they need to regroup and reevaluate how they do this thing, because what they're doing is a disservice to me, to all the great players that are deserving that aren't in, because they're limiting the number of people in there. And then when they do have the number of people in there and you put that list out, the players might not get it. So there should be a player category, and they got it. Whatever they're going to do, they put them in. And then if they want to do the other stuff, then that shouldn't count as the number of people they put in there.
Now, Chuck, you're being videotaped. Maybe you should pull a Drew Pearson and start bawling.
They cry a little bit, yeah. They cry.
I don't know why, man. Why they treat me like this? It don't make sense.
That was good. That was good. Very good.
You have taken it with you can take it as well as anyone.
He doesn't know, but that just got him in. He's in now. Yeah.
Oh man, hey, listen, I'd welcome it, no doubt about it. But I'm in a phenomenal place in my life.
And that's the key to it.
And that's all that matters, right? So we're gonna just regroup, come back, and go at it one more time, I think.
Well, he got great traction this time around. I think you will have you'll have some momentum going.
I know a little bit more about but like I said, the thing was, this guy spoke for, and the senior committee spoke for this guy. Now, do we have to go to a senior committee member and say, hey, look, can you speak to me?
I think it would help a lot.
I think you do.
But if that's the case, we never knew that.
Right. Why didn't they give you the rules?
They give us the rules because, what we did was our own presentation, which was great.
Yes, it was.
Because look where it got us. But I'm saying, if you got a guy on the committee speaking for you, I mean, you can throw all that other stuff out the door.
Chuck, I looked at that list, and I thought actually the running back position was one of the strongest of all the positions, and none of you got out.
Hey, listen, me, Roger Craig.
Yeah.
We just sitting there. It's almost like they discriminating against the most, let's put it like this, to players that are multi-talented.
Yes, because you didn't just put up rushing yards.
The most well-rounded running backs that I can think of would be Roger Craig and Chuck Foreman.
Yeah, so to me, that's how I see it. Well, wait a minute. They are still stuck in the past. Back in the day when I played, 1,000 yards rushing was the pinnacle.
Yep.
Now it's someplace else, but of course now they can hold, they can do anything they want to do, so... I'm sorry, but
that's all right. Unfortunately, we know it's not the Hall.
No,
we made a mistake.
It's not the Hall. But anyway, it's kind of I don't know. You live and you learn every day about it.
Didn't play as many
we got to
games
find
either.
out who these people are to speak for the player, and then you got to probably go to them and say, "Look, can you speak for me?"
Yeah.
Yeah, here's a couple $1,000.
Well,
hey, they're a little under the table.
No, I'm just.
Well, you and the man next to you, Mike Morris, a superstar, are in the JimBob Sports Jamboree Hall of Fame.
Thank you. I'll take it.
So I'm going to call Roger.
You're the
Craig.
charter members.
I'm going to call Roger Craig and say, "Hey, look, man, what are we going to do?"
No, then you help him. He'll get him a guy.
Yeah, well, we'll both get a guy. We'll do like the. Who was that? The punter, Ray Guy. Remember Ray Guy made a big stink about, hey, the punters aren't in the Hall of Fame? and then they addressed it. Well, I'm gonna say, all-purpose, multi-talented, gifted players, running back, receiver. You ignoring us.
Here's my advice: do that after you get in. They're not going to put 2 running backs up the same year.
No.
So you get in first, then you help Roger Craig.
Oh yeah, okay.
You've deserved it longer than he has.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, anyway, it's just the beginning. That's what I guess is what I'm saying. So it's good.
It was a good start for the first time of promoting yourself.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good traction.
Yeah,
for you.
no doubt. They did a Skull marketing. Ben, Jack, you guys, the fans themselves. I thank you all because you did a phenomenal job, man. It's like, actually, I had to call Ben this morning and say, hey, listen, what you going to do? My phone's blown up off the hook, and how these people get my number? I had like 100 phone calls.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then if it wasn't a phone call, it was like from the social media thing popping up on my phone. I'm like, how'd they get that? But it's been like, I've been sending messages out, like, hey, don't worry about it. I'm not crying. Don't worry about that.
I just saw you cry.
Yeah,
I just saw you cry.
I could turn that on. You see how easily I turned that on? So,
I just saw you.
My mother always said I could be an actor.
You could have been.
Yeah, I could.
Not too late.
Yeah, well, no, man. I'm setting my ways now. I'm good.
Yeah, just call Ed Marinero. He can get you some agents.
Ed Marinero. What a name. What a name.
I don't know what kind of show we do together, but he might have one. But he's coming up here soon anyway. So maybe I'll just...
He's going to hang out with you?
Yeah, he's going to hang out
Well,
with
then
me.
you could ask him a few questions.
Yeah.
About how to get involved. Hey, was he a halfback or a fullback like you?
Well, he was a halfback. Then they moved me to fullback. They made him the blocking back because he was a pretty good athlete,
So the halfback was the blocking
could
back.
Yeah, he was blocking for me. He didn't like it either. Well, he was second runner-up for the Heisman Trophy.
Great runner at Cornell.
Against Pat Sullivan. Remember that?
Yep.
And he wasn't too happy about that. But look, from Cornell to a Heisman Trophy candidate, and he was right there in New York, handsome dude, all that. He thought, he still had all of it going on because he still got as much as Pat Sullivan did in the endorsements.
Did he
Maybe
really?
more, yeah. He's from New York. He's from Jersey.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, you know what? Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with more of the JimBob Sports Jamboree. We're going to get Tyler to give you some numbers and places, where you can go, because you mentioned it before, but give some more information. You don't just do windows. We'll hear more about that and more from the superstar. And, Jim, we got to get you to chit-chat a bit, too.
Yes, sir. Whatever you need.
We're coming right back with more of the JimBob Sports Jamboree. We are back with more of the JimBob Sports Jamboree with a couple of legends. Chuck Foreman, the superstar Mike Morris, another legend, Jim Rich from Fox 9, and Tyler Ganz and his legendary, I'm sorry, I can't help myself, the window store. Now, besides windows, you guys do a little bit of everything, right?
We do a little roofing, a little siding, but I want to talk today about how much women, especially your wives, love to be comfortable in their kitchen, and it's expensive to do a remodel. But I'm telling you, you do a reface, we come in, we do the doors, we do the drawers, everything's going to be soft closed, no more banging pots and pans around. It looks beautiful, like you spent $100,000 on this kitchen, but it's way less than that. Get us in there, buy your wife a Christmas present to set the new year off right with a brand new kitchen.
Perfect idea. Now, I got to ask.
How do they find you, though?
Well, you want to go to Windows Store Inc.
You can't miss him. He's 6'8", 320.
He's taller and bigger than you, but he's put together.
He is.
You got to give the info.
Go
Here we go. It's WindowsStoreInc.com, not 67230 or whatever you said.
He's big, really big. I mean, you can't miss him. And the stores are even
out in the industry.
He's outstanding in his field. If it's me, it's cornfield, though.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
All right, now, Jim, I want to ask you about this because we'll get the other thoughts too. But I said this last week. I think. Please don't tell me that he's how great an offensive genius that Kevin O'Connell is when it took to the second half to finally figure out a way to get the ball to Justin Jefferson. The second quarter was half over when he finally got the first pass thrown to him. There are ways, and he showed in the second half, put him in the backfield, throw short, get him the ball.
Put him in motion.
They were down by 13. When he started becoming a part of the offense, that's when they caught up.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with what Jefferson has done off the field. How many superstar wide receivers considered the best in the league would not be chirping after 3 straight weeks of under 100 yards receiving, not being targeted. But he, on the outside, didn't say a word. Now, it may be because he already has his contract. If this was last year and he was still trying to get a contract, he'd be losing it, I think. And most people, rightfully so, would be. But I think because he's grown in his leadership skills, he's more, he takes that C on his jersey to heart. He really tries to be a leader of the whole Vikings, special teams, defense. He's in everybody's corner. And as long as they were winning, he's fine. But I think he went to O'Connell at halftime of that last game and said, look, you got to get me the ball. This offense is not working. Figure out a way. Do whatever you got to do. And like you said, he'd go in the backfield. He'd go in motion. Right. He was going back and forth just to shake those guys.
Chuck, you went through this too. Isn't the slant the wide receiver's best friend?
The best friend. What I'm saying too is like whatever he said to him, there were some tight windows. I know what those tight windows are because when I used to get into the slot position as a running back or fullback, whatever it was real tight. But you were open. And so I think when I looked at the game the other day, I mean, he was open, but he was, he got that ball in there quick. And he was able to make some big plays with them. So I think they changed up their strategy as far as how to get him the ball instead of going all the way downfield.
Right. When he was coming back, and he would, he would anticipate the throw, Jefferson, and he would cut those defenders off coming back to the ball, not waiting.
Right. So there you go. So those are some things, some adjustments they made. And that's what they're going to have to do from here on out. Because, see, one thing I know, when you have a great receiver or a great guy that can come out of the backfield and do some different things, you got to adapt to the thing. When he comes back to the huddle and he tells you, hey, listen, this is what I can do, you better listen to him. Because, we know, because we got him set up and everything. When we come back and tell you. So I'm thinking, he comes back and he tells them, hey, look, this is what I can get away with right now. And so let's just do it. And so, when the offensive line is clicking, giving you a little bit, the offensive line was not clicking as well as it normally has been last week. And they had to get the ball out there quick.
But he wasn't, though. That's the problem with Darnold. He holds the ball too long.
Well, sometimes he does, but I think... Hey, at least he's not throwing interceptions.
Right. And he's not
like Kirk Cousins.
Right, Mike? He's
Jameis Winston.
He's taking those hits and he's holding on.
Absolutely. He's a tough guy. He's a big,
and not only that,
quarterback.
When he does decide to go, he can run.
Oh, he's a good athlete.
And so I don't understand why he doesn't do that more when he can. Instead of trying to get downfield, go and take the 5 yards.
Yeah.
O'Connell had that in his back pocket the whole time, I think, to be able to get the ball to Jefferson. Because it took until the Cardinals put that last touchdown up, and it just forced the issue. It was like, we've got to change now or it's going to be over with. But they put that touchdown up, and then it was just like everything changed. Another game plan came out, and he opened up another part of the book that said, we've got to play, the passing game has to work right now to everybody.
But,
and it just it worked like a clock.
You're absolutely right. But why hold that and not come out? I mean, why not?
Idea.
Why get close games and why get fallen behind the way
too conservative? It was conservative. It was really safe football. And unfortunately, I mean, our running back, a good player, a great player, put the ball on the ground a couple times, and then he missed a catch in the end zone. But I mean, it wasn't going well.
Let me ask both of you.
It was to play like we played last week and come out with a win. Hey, let's just say, they pulled it off and they played when they had
Chuck,
to.
let me ask you and Mike this, though. Aaron Jones, he 2 fumbles. One of the second one, I don't know that he ever had the ball, but they were both punched out. Mm-hmm. You don't bench the guy for most of the game. No.
Well,
not Aaron Jones.
Not Aaron Jones. 5 fumbles now.
Well, regardless, plus you got a guy Akers can run that ball too.
He can.
So I'm sure they're saying, hey, let's just settle him down and we'll get him back.
He wound up getting the game when he touched him.
That is absolutely what it was.
In the end, he came back and the game winning touchdown. Yeah. Hey, the guy can run. Hey, and I'm not going away from him. He is the guy that stirs that. No, he makes that offense go.
He does.
I mean, you could tell O'Connell's not about punishment necessarily. He's
No.
about teaching a lesson and giving the guy a chance to go settle down
Right.
and cool his head off. It bothered him immensely after the first one. And then after the second one, he was so frustrated. You could tell that O'Connell just put him over there to just settle your rear end down for a while. You're okay.
Yeah,
just come back
right.
in, but wait until you're okay.
But you know what? When he came off, especially when you fumble the ball, that's nothing like when you're a running back and you drop putting that ball on the ground. You're feeling like crap anyway. But as far as I know and I remember, whenever I didn't do it too often, but when I did, and I'd come off the field, they would say, "You know how you held that ball. You know, you got to tighten up. You know how you hold the ball, because that's now what they're doing. You know, they're not tackling you;
They're
punching you." And so you got to really be conscious of that now as a
Did they
running
do that
back.
when you played?
Well, they punched, but not as much as
Not
they
like
do now. They tackled you back then. I mean, they were trying to hurt you. They're not worrying about the football. They figure they put you out the game and they good to go. They were. That's
how they played.
A whole totally different game back when I played. And so when you look at this game today and you see the yardage these guys get and the numbers they have, hey, that wasn't flying back then. Like, for instance, the hit on, what's his name? Lawrence this week.
Oh, yeah.
That was a regular everyday occurrence.
Every day.
Back when you played,
Hey, that wasn't no
That's
foul.
for sure. It wasn't even in today's standards. I thought that I thought he actually came off that. I
did
mean, he
too.
clearly knocked him
thought-
out, but I could tell he was rolling out of it.
But I didn't see him go follow through
Yeah,
with it.
exactly.
I didn't see him follow through with it. But what I'm saying is, like, heck, first of all, a quarterback, if he would have slid back in our era, he would have been considered weak.
Yeah, soft.
No,
Yeah.
and it was
So you're
soft,
right, they didn't
soft and
slide.
weak, and they
Yeah.
didn't slide. They
Yeah.
just went for it.
Yeah.
You know, now it's a smart thing to be able to slide. Don't misunderstand me. But in our era, in our time, that hit, that's his everyday hit.
That was just fun.
Now they act like he's tried to kill the guy.
Now, I will say, I will sing the praises of Kevin O'Connell, and I do think this will happen this weekend. I believe that both Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson will have monster games because of how they've been playing, and now's the time to do it. Certainly against Atlanta, which is not a terrible team, not a great team.
Well, he's 6-6, and
They were good earlier in the year.
they were. So I don't know what happened other than the offensive line left and went out of town. But left Kirk Cousins hanging. But you know, it just. I find it funny how when I listen to some of these people that broadcast, and they talk about, okay, the quarterback. He won the. You know, he is now he's 6-6. Wait a minute, Mike. I know quarterbacks are important, right? But I don't know one
Absolutely.
quarterback that wins or loses by himself. If you don't have or on the defense, if you don't have that defensive line that can give those linebackers and defensive backs a chance to flow and cover, you in trouble.
Well-
if you don't have that up front on offense, you in trouble.
Not by
They don't
himself.
lose. Yeah, you know, quarterback. Okay, if he wins the game, all right, take everybody away and see what he does.
Not by himself, but I will tell you, my MVP is Josh Allen. He had no receivers. What he has done with that team, to me, is incredible.
I think he's doing really well this year. He does well all the time he's here, but I hate to say it, but maybe Stephon Diggs leaving him was a good thing for him.
Yeah,
Because I think when you're coming off the field and your receiver screaming at you, that's not a good sign.
No. And he
Diggs
did-
is full of himself.
You know,
he was here for every single play that he played here. He was a prima donna and a diva, and that's exactly what he was.
And so they
in
went
Buffalo.
and I guarantee you when they went to Josh Allen, what do you think? He says, man, it's time for him to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the
I
noise
guarantee you.
and the problem in town took off and left and found another place to play, and it just loosened it up.
And in the locker room, it's
Yeah.
not a good thing.
It's bad. It's
Yeah.
really bad. He's all the noise they have.
He's talented, no question.
Very much
but,
so.
But I thought the other stuff he brought with it was not necessary.
All right. So how much is Brian Flores going to have to hold his defense back from blitzing? Because every single guy is going to want to get over to the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think
this is going to be
what you're going to
that's
run
I
into
think is
here
gonna be
is
entertaining.
it'll be a chess match because Cousins knows a lot about what we do.
Right.
And he knows a lot about what Flores does. That could be it's going to be a chess match for sure because Cousins is a well-schooled. He's played this game for a long time now, and he knows that defense and all those personnel. He knows where the personnel mismatches might be on the field. in the way they match up, and playing against them every day in practice, or at least 2-minute drills.
Well, but the personnel change.
It does change. It does change.
I'm telling you, just having that. What's his name? Grenard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now,
Bingy.
just having him alone makes a big difference. That's not considering all the
I
other
agree.
changes they made.
It does, and I think that if anything, the defense got better from what it was last year. But he knows
think
Flores. He knows how Flores thinks,
And that's key.
And that's key. I mean, the personnel does change all the time, but one thing that remained the same is the guy who puts that defense in there. I think he'll be in tune more than any quarterback we've faced so far. I'll put it that way.
It's going to be interesting. All right, we got to take a quick break. The JimBob Sports Jamboree. Be right back.
On behalf of Vikings legend Chuck Foreman and Fox 9's Jim Rich, I'm Bob Sansevere, and I want to say thank you to all of our listeners and our radio partners, KXRA in Alexandria, KRWC in Buffalo, KDHL in Faribault and Owatonna, KDAL and WDSM in Duluth, WNMT in Hibbing, KTOE in Mankato, AM 660 The Bear, WBHR in St. Cloud, and Wild 102 FM in Roseau. Also, KWOA AM FM in Worthington, and KKBJ in Bemidji, and Bob Total Country serving the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and surrounding areas. We'll talk to you later.